And joining us on the Western Hotline is Alan Saunders of Steelers beat guy for Steelers now, on this deal, which gets the Steelers both Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Alan, good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. How's Buffalo on this fine day? Lovely city.
It is. It's nice. We've had some nice summer weather. You know, it's 80 degrees, and we're talking about hockey free agency. That's how it goes around here this time of year. So we're doing all right, though. Counting down 22 days till training camp. So, getting into football eventually.
There you go. You go. I feel this day is less exciting for the Penguins and Sabres at their current place in the standings, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're used to that.
Yes, that's right.
This might be new for you, but we're
right,
definitely used to that. Yeah.
So, Alan, regarding place in the standings, the Steelers, they're in a tough division, and they have an old quarterback, but he's maybe got one more run at this thing. And I think what the Steelers have done here is probably the right move. I mean, if you're going to go for an Aaron Rodgers season, why not get as many reinforcements as possible? How do you like this move they pulled off yesterday?
It's interesting because I don't think anybody had corner and tight end at the top of their offseason needs, but I just think they got a lot better. And so you kind of just figure it out after that. I don't really know how they're going to sort things out in the secondary. They now have three guys in Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey, who all primarily played outside corner in the past. Obviously, that won't continue. I don't know how they're going to figure it out. If Ramsey's going to play in the slot, or if he's going to play safety, or maybe Slay will play safety. I don't know. I just think they traded older defensive backs for one another, and they got a Pro Bowl tight end kind of thrown in on the deal. That's not so bad. You kind of just take it and you move on. All offseason, they've sort of tried to walk this path where they're trying to do everything they can to win this year, except for the things that take away from their chances of winning in the future. So, they didn't spend a lot of money in free agency because they were trying to keep they're in line for 4 compensatory picks, including a third and a fourth next year. They have an extra third from George Pickens. The draft is in Pittsburgh. They're probably going to trade up to get a quarterback. They don't want to take away from that. At the same time, they're trying to do everything they can to win this year. There's only so many ways you have to upgrade your team when you're sort of trying to have it both ways, and when trades like this come along, you can't really pass them up.
So when there's rumors a month ago about Jonnu Smith and the Steelers, and then he ends up being a part of this deal, do you feel like that was the primary motivation for Pittsburgh, and Ramsey is more doing a favor for Miami, or do you think they were motivated to acquire Ramsey also?
I think they really wanted to upgrade their group of pass catchers in some way. I think that ideally really like to have a real wide receiver 2 to put with DK Metcalf, but it's July 1st, and they'll have one, and probably not going to get one at this point. They were calling around the league about other wide receivers. They brought in Gabe Davis for a free agent visit that apparently he's had a number of those and hasn't signed with anyone, so I'm assuming that means he's not healthy or isn't ready to sign or whatever. There's only so many options, and this was a way to upgrade their group of pass catchers, in a different way. I don't think they went into these conversations trying to trade Minkah Fitzpatrick. It was just that the Dolphins had Jonnu Smith. They also had Jalen Ramsey. They were trying to trade them both, and that was the price that they were able to agree on. I don't know what Miami's doing here. I don't really understand their motivation for any of this other than I guess it's just 2 guys who weren't happy in Miami and they send them packing, but man, their tight ends are now very bad. Their corners are awful. There's a lot to not love about the trade for the Steelers, but I think it's just so lopsided in their favor that you just kind of say, okay, well, figure the rest out.
Yeah, Miami is so motivated to get guys out of there, I suppose. And they get back Minkah Fitzpatrick, which, they dumped him a while back. Now they bring him back. What's the report on Fitzpatrick and what he can bring to them, I suppose, if they're bringing him back?
Came to Pittsburgh in 2019 and immediately made this huge impact on the Steelers' defense with all these splash plays, led the league in interceptions in 2022. And since then, all that's dried up. Over the last 2 seasons, he has 1 interception, no forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries, and he's getting paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $22, $23 million. There is a chance that Minkah Fitzpatrick goes to Miami. He's only 28. I haven't seen any physical decline. He just hasn't been making the plays. So if he goes to Miami and he goes back to being an all-pro player, that's probably the one way that the Steelers look bad in this trade. But the player he's been the last 2 years has not been – I mean, he made the Pro Bowl last year, and I was in Orlando talking to him, and he was sort of almost embarrassed by it. He's like, I didn't play very well. Like, I was a little surprised to be here. That's kind of been the story of the last 2 years for him. A really, really talented player. I don't really know why things have gone the way they have.
In terms of how they were going to make it work in the secondary now with Ramsey, what do you think there's a chance he ends up playing safety for the Steelers, or maybe somebody else starts playing out of position compared to what they've done in the past?
I think there's a chance he plays safety. I think there's a chance he plays slot corner and maybe some outside corner too. I think there's a couple different ways they can run things. They have one Thornhill, who they signed from the Browns, who was the starter for them and for Kansas City before that. So they can start Thornhill at free safety, play Ramsey outside, and move like Slay to the bench. They could play Ramsey in the slot and play Ramsey, Slay, and Porter all together. I don't really know how much Ramsey wants to play in the slot at this point in his career. He did it obviously some back when he was with the Rams. It's a more physical job. You get older, a lot of guys make the other move, right? They move back to safety. I don't really know how it's going to play out, but I think the one thing about Mike Tomlin is he's never going to run away from a coaching problem. He's never going to be like, oh, don't do this. It's going to be hard for me and my staff to figure out. He'll be like, well, either we'll figure it out or we won't, but it'll be our fault if we don't. So just do it and we'll go from there.
Alan Saunders joining us on the Western Hotline. On Tomlin, what? Is he embattled? Is he hot seat? Where does it stand for him?
I mean, obviously things are not going as well as they had been. I don't think he's in a hot seat of in any danger of being fired anytime soon. But I definitely think they're feeling the pressure of 8 years without a playoff win. I think they would tell you that there's a tension that has been added to the process that really, when you look at where the Steelers are in an organization and kind of trying to rebuild on the fly here and that type of thing, probably wouldn't otherwise exist if that playoff drought hadn't been what it is. And so, yeah, I think they're feeling the pressure, probably not in any real danger of being fired, but I think there's real pressure there, both from the fan base and from ownership, to finally, do something in the playoffs, and then, continue this process of trying to get younger on both sides of the football and kind of build their next core of the franchise.
Is the pressure maybe more to what the direction of the franchise would be after this year? Like if we looked up earlier, I think they're favored in 6 games. Like if they finally have a losing season under Tomlin, or they just miss, or I don't know what this would, what season we'd be looking at for this. But if they don't meet their expectation, could you see Tomlin and the organization even being more aggressive on the younger player part of it, almost a rebuild, if it doesn't go well this year? Is that maybe a pressure that they're under?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the Rooneys have rebuild in their blood. They're going to go for it every time. I do think probably no matter what happens this year, the move next year is to trade up to draft a quarterback. So I kind of think it doesn't really matter that they got all those picks to sort of insulate themselves from the negative benefits of winning. And I think they're and they have a ton of cap space too. I think they have the second or third fewest, and this may change with the Ramsey trade, but before this they had, I think, the second or third fewest amount of future salary committed after the 2025 season. So they don't need they don't ever want to go into some sort of lengthy rebuild. They've shown a willingness to just throw off spare parts and kind of retool on the fly that they maybe haven't had in the past. But I think that's about as far as I could see them going.
And is the TJ Watt stuff just going to be theatrics and it'll get done?
It's going to get done. Everybody wants it to get done. Obviously, I think sort of TJ hasn't said anything, but when you read between the lines about what his brother said and, the way the reporting has come out, that's sort of obviously agent-driven. Clearly he's not happy about the timeline here, but, I mean, they really want to sign him. He wants to be in Pittsburgh. I don't see any other outcome.
All right. Alan Saunders of Steelers Now. Alan, thanks for the time.
Thank you. We'll see you this season, I think.
Yes,
right?
yes. The Bills are making a trip down to Acrisure Stadium. Is it still Acrisure?
Yeah, it's still a bad name, but, it is what it is. I think we've seen the Bills like 6 years in a row if you count the preseason. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Thanks, Alan.
All right, we'll see you guys.